us about, so perhaps that leopard maybe just popped into Cheetah Plains very quickly and then disappeared and went back on its way. But we're still looking. We're looking for any signs of any cats around here, and hopefully we managed to get towards the big plains, and then we will check the southern boundary, of course, and see perhaps if quarantine has crossed back over into Cheetah Plains. But we'll try and get there. Brian, how well do you know Cheetah Plains? So Brian's response was so, which is very reassuring. So we'll get lost together then, I suppose. But I think we've got to go down this way. We'll go down this way. We'll just keep following a road. We'll just be like, I don't know, Hansel and Gretel, except that nobody's left any breadcrumbs out for us. And hopefully we managed to find them. Well, let's check the GPS again, though. I don't know why mine is not working. That's quite bizarre. Maybe I have no data or something. I'm not on Jacopin West Road. I'm not in Nkoro. I'm too far. Goodness gracious. We'll go this way. Brian says we must go this way, so we'll go this way. Yes, it's telling me that I'm around Nkoro, but we know we're not, because we went very far south, far away, and we just went past the Djuma Dam as well, so that could not possibly be the case. And also the fact that the GPS hasn't moved for the last 5 minutes is probably another indication. But let's just we'll just drive today and see if we can find anything. I'm still waiting for all the flowers to pop up. I'm quite disappointed that they haven't come around yet. Maybe we need a little bit more of a sprinkle for that to happen. Oh, this is starting to look a little bit familiar. Right. Now, James has got something very interesting happening, but I won't ruin the surprise.
We had such a cool experience just now, everybody, and heard of impala running from something, or perhaps just frolicking in the cool morning, came running through here and spotted these lions very late. Half of them went scudding off to the left, half went scudding off to the right. Oh dear. A bit of a vicious attack on a dead buffalo, aren't they, say? She's got a bit frustrated and she started moving it around. It's interestingly now, if we look here, you see they haven't got into the underbelly yet. That's interesting, so that's still going to pop. And so probably you'll find that the soft bits now are quite difficult to get at. And that's probably why she's moving it around like this. She keeps looking down back this way, sort of between where Ephraim's parked and where I am. That is very vast humerus that she's having a go at there. Oof, when that thing pops, there is going to be a stink. Now, also lurking around here, Dave, is on the edge of that. You see that bush in front, straight in front of them? Yep. There are masses of flies, or there certainly used to be a whole lot of flies. I think probably they moved a little bit. Oh, they've gone off. Sorry about that. They've gone off as a result of the movement. Joel in New York, you're wondering about choking, and if I've ever seen, there they are, the gorgeous regal blowfly. You're wondering if I've ever seen a lion choke on meat. No, that's interesting. I haven't, I think they just... why don't they choke on meat? Why wouldn't they? Because they eat huge pieces and they don't chew. I suspect the fact that they don't chew means that they've got pretty open throats. They don't have chewing teeth, so they break off bits that they can eat and then they just swallow them. I guess in the same way that most dogs don't choke on bone sort of thing. I guess they just adapted to eating it. Now, I cannot tell what this cat is trying to get at in the face there. Maybe there's some soft tissue around the nose that she wants to eat. Now, the other very interesting thing, I think, is that it's often horrible watching an animal being killed. We all know that. We've seen it many times now. We've had the chance to experience it. But it's funny to me how once the, as they say, last light has faded from the animal's eyes, once we watch them eating like this, yes, of course, it's gory and it's not particularly pleasant to look at. But what we have here is it's a situation where it just doesn't. It's not very upsetting, if you know what I mean. It's inanimate. It's like watching a steak being eaten, but particularly a fly-riddled and maggot-infested steak. But that's just, I don't know. I don't feel any sense of sorrow anymore. But watching a buffalo being killed is, I find, very difficult. Dave, look at her elbow there. You see her elbow? There's a big hole there where there are a whole lot of flies going in, and I think that's a big gash. And apparently Kirsten says that's been there for a few days. It looks to me like either a tooth mark or quite possibly a claw mark inflicted by members of the Pride. And it's a constant source of amazement to me that, of course, a pride like this cannot kill a buffalo without extremely well-coordinated plans and without a lot of cooperation. But as soon as there's death, then they fight with each other, and I guess I'm not really sure why that's the case. But also, it's one of the main reasons that they have to keep being affectionate with each other before they hunt. They reaffirm those bonds because they do split, and they become very upset with each other as soon as the actual kill is made. And it's interesting, I was reading a book the other day. It's apparently, that's common amongst all species that fight with each other. So, for example, the chimpanzees, which fight with each other quite a lot, what you will find that the chimpanzees do is that they will have huge fights with each other, but almost immediately the aggressor, the person that the chimp that started the fight, will try and make amends by going to groom or embrace or kind of just kind of make amends to take down the social tension. And I think lions do exactly the same thing. It made such sense to me when I read that. And then you watch lions sort of rubbing their heads against each other after they've fed, and they lie close to each other. They just reaffirm the bonds and kind of lessen the tension and tell each other, everything's all right. We still love each other. And of course, the species that does that probably more than any other, our own human species. You know how uncomfortable it is to be in a state of conflict with people you have to live with. Unless you're a psychopath, of course, in which case it doesn't feel too bad at all. Mercifully, that is not common. See little things, cute little cubs, so vicious now. Teresa, yes, we are indeed. David is basically, his face is exactly aimed towards that red patch there. You say, are we in the line of fire? Should the belly blow? We are deeply in the line of fire. If it were to blow, though, it wouldn't actually explode. I think they would probably just puncture it first. They will puncture it. And then I think hopefully it would just be a kind of... and then anybody within a sort of 25-meter radius would drop dead from the stink. I don't think that it would explode in a kind of red flying mass of gore. Look at that little thing. we'll ask David to come in here. David, this buffalo doesn't smell too bad at all, does it? It doesn't smell yet, Wendy, simply because it's freshly killed and they haven't opened the belly. So the other buffalo that we saw the other day, of course, has now been dead for 3 days, and it smells like rotting, rancid flesh. But this one hasn't been dead long enough. Right, quickly, Taylor's got an interesting bird to show you.
You can see we've got red-crested Korhaans. Let's watch what they get up to. We've got 2 of them. Where's the other one gone? The other one is so camouflaged. Oh, there, it just walked past it. Now, the one that was sitting down actually seemed like the male. But we shall watch and see. Here comes the other one. Oh, what's going to happen? Don't go behind the termite mound. Here they come again. Maybe that's so bizarre, because that one actually looks like the male with the very sort of grey head over there. Can you see that? Maybe I'm wrong there. Oh my goodness. What is going on? One's calling. Come on, do a display for us. Do a display. This is beautiful. This is very interesting. The other one is also now calling. Coming off just from the left. There it is. Maybe these are both, you see, I don't know, what do you think, Brian? I think the one on the left looks more male-like because I can see a bit of red you see that? Maybe they're both boys. Maybe they're both having a dispute. I'm not sure. Though the one on the left does seem to be... Oh, there's 3! My goodness, I didn't see the third one. There's now 3, so perhaps there are 3 males here competing for this area. It's like an arena. Although that one looks very feminine-like to me. A lot more speckled. Just trying to have a decent look at a picture of a female. Maybe that one that was in the middle could have been the female, because I didn't see as dark of a grey crest on top of its head, which was very prominent. And moving around again. That's definitely a male that we're looking at right now. This is very interesting. I've never seen this display before. Here comes another one. That's also definitely a male moving it over there on the left. This is absolutely incredible. And this is it. Like I said, I'm not too familiar with the red-crested Korhaans. We normally used to just see a lot of black-bellied bustards, and I've only seen them a couple of times. And every time I have seen them, it's been very, very, very brief. So I just want to read about their breeding behavior very quickly as we're sitting here watching this incredible sighting. Oh, that's exciting. Okay, so it seems as though they do make arenas, like I said. And possibly the one in the middle is indeed the female, and these 2 boys are competing now for her. There we go. Yeah, it is. Sitting down quietly. Isn't that just a beautiful call? Come on, do a proper display for us. So not many birds make or create these arenas where they dance around each other like we've sort of been seeing with these 2 males, and I suspect that the third one is indeed a female. typically it's only 2 males that will come together. Every now and then you could see 3 or 4 together. It would be a little bit more unusual, but this is just absolutely amazing. Now, we really want them to do a proper display where they erect the crest on their head. I've never seen that before. Come on, birdies, what are you going to do next? Heading around. Now I've lost sight of the second male, but perhaps this one is going to chase him out. See, they both, I don't know, I think there could be all 3 males here. They all look very much the same, like I said, with that very typical grey crest on top of their head. You can see that. The female tends to lack that. And the fact that they're also all calling. Maybe there isn't any female here. Another thing you can see quite nicely on the males is that sort of black marking down their throat. The females seem to lack that. So this is actually quite interesting. So maybe there was a female nearby and that's who they were competing for, but maybe she's moved off now. And these boys here are left to sort of battle it out. Yeah, the 3 of them are together. And it's just absolutely amazing. Nature is just so incredible. Look at the camouflage as well. The one on the left completely disappears into the ground. I wonder why they sit down like that, how they race and then they run, sit down, and they're almost taking turns to call as well. We'll just sit and watch and just enjoy this and take notes. It's every day we go out in the bush and we learn a little bit. To be able to capture something like this live as well is quite phenomenal. Getting very excited. Now perhaps because I don't think that there's a female here, I don't think there's here one right now. Maybe that's why they are reluctant to do the full display that they would normally do, and maybe they're just battling out with these sort of quieter calls and not really worrying about flashing their feathers too much. This is remarkable. It seems to have settled down quite a bit. The males are all moving away. It's just this one that's sitting down. The others are moving in the distance. One's about to pop out on the road in front of us. Looks as though he's leaving. Are you off? Have you had enough? Oh. Maybe these two are they feel as though they're worthy competitors of each other. The other one's going off, running after him. We'll try and stick with them and see where they're going to go to next, because they're moving out of that area that they were running in circles. Maybe there is a female nearby and she's just observing in the distance, and they're trying to bring down the amount of competitors. And it seems as though these two for the ones who have made it into the final round. I can't see the third one anymore. Has moved, got up and moved, but they're so camouflaged on the ground. If you don't keep following them, and it just looks like a piece of vegetation. We'll go up, let's go up a little bit closer. They've moved a fair distance away from us. Anything like this before? There they are. I'm just going to duck down because they're just in front of us. And it seems as though the third one has now come back. I love it when they ruffle their feathers, when all the birds do that. This is very, very interesting. Everybody here seems to be a little bit unsure as to what's going on, even the birds. Now, Justin, you want me to try and translate to what, as to what the birds were saying. Now, I reckon we'll give them, I don't know, let's say Bob, one of them that was doing most of the calling, was probably saying something along the lines of, hey, look at my beautiful feathers. Just been to the feather dresser and had these washed and polished and waxed. Look how shiny I am, look how beautiful I am. And another one was going, hey, but look at my muscles. I've been in the gym. I've been working out. Look how strong I am. And then the third one was going, but I can sing so beautifully. Listen to my voice. Listen to how lovely I can sing. I think they probably would have been saying those types of things to each other. And then, of course, when they get jealous, well, then they rush at each other and try and chase the other one away. But I just found it incredible how they were all taking turns. One would have its opportunity and sing and do whatever it wanted to do, and then the next one would sit down, and the entire process would keep happening over and over. They're still watching each other carefully, though. They've put a bit more distance between each other. But no more singing, it seems. They weren't saying anything particularly ugly to each other, though. There hasn't been too much aggression really shown. Just occasionally, like I said, the odd sort of rushing towards another one, or like this, chasing, and then giving a little fly away. But it's really not anything sort of too serious. Well, they're coming back again. This is amazing. I could just sit here the whole morning and see what happens. Seems as though there's more chasing happening now. Less singing, more chasing. Now, unless you're wondering if these are the ones that make the wine cork pop sound, now you can see why you can easily get confused. That's the black-bellied bustard that does this. This is the red crested Korhaan. So this is the one that's got the beautiful red feathers that are tucked away at the base of his head and behind on the back of his head. And he'll actually erect them and sort of jump up and down and do a beautiful display, which I've never seen before. Just having a look. They're coming back again. Here comes the one coming across the road to chase everyone around. Oh no, I'm going to just sit down now. This is amazing. Now, obviously, you have to have a chat with James because I've never seen anything like this before. And I've never seen the males sort of fighting for dominance. But I'm just trying to look at the feathers now. The female is much lighter in color and more speckled. Now, we did see that one that looked like it had more sort of white mottling on the feathers on the front of its chest. Perhaps that was the female. I just thought that the rest... Oh! Well, they're flying after each other. I just thought that they all looked very male-like. I could be mistaken, though. Let's try and have another look. There's not very obvious differences between the males and the females, I'm afraid, with the red-crested Korhaans. Now, Lou the lion, who were wondering what qualities would a female want to see in a male red-crested Korhaan. Now, firstly, he must have a beautiful voice. They're disappearing now into the thicket. He needs to be able to sing nicely. He also needs to be big and strong enough to be able to deter any other male. So he must also have a nice dance. And of course he needs to have a good headrest of feathers that come out, and when he does do his proper display. So that's typically what they're looking for. We'll see if we can go up and get one more view of them. It seems as though they've gone down into the drainage line now, but that was really fascinating. That was another first for me, seeing this entire arena process going on between the red-crested Korhaans. And I wish they would have hung around. It seems as though they're completely gone now. Obviously run across to the other side. It would have been amazing to have been able to have sat with them and just figured out who was who. Like I said, initially I thought I saw a female, but I don't think that there was a female there. Just all of them had very dark heads, that grey sort of patterning on the skull, or the grey feathers, and they just all had very, very black breasts and that dark sort of patch going underneath their throat, which the female lacks. So maybe the one that I thought that looked a little bit like a female, maybe it was a younger male, maybe it was a juvenile, perhaps it was his first time coming into an area like this and being a part of an arena, which would explain why they weren't properly doing their displays. But interesting nonetheless. A few unanswered questions I'll have to think about and do a bit of reading, but wasn't that amazing? Something different. But I'm sure you've been missing the Nkuhumas, so let's go back and see what they're now up to.
You went to Cheetah Plains at the right time, everybody. The stomach has burst. It went as expected, and thankfully it did not explode all over us. Now, one of the very excited parts of this ecology, as I said, the regal blowfly, David, is just above our heads here. You see it there? Gorgeous. Gorgeous shot of the regal blowfly there. That is a marvellous shot. Anyway, them is the reason we have maggots all over a carcass. Now, Ephraim is just moving out, so I'm going to move slightly forward. Watch out for the regal blowflies, David. You don't want them in your ears. We're right there. Let's sneak our way underneath here. Hello, once upon a time. You say you're just returning from a break. I mean, scandalous that you took a break during a safari, but anyway, there it is. You say, is this a kill, or did this thing just drop dead? I think once upon a time it was killed last night by this pride of lions. I don't think it dropped dead here. It's possible that it did, but they've been feeding on it for a goodly time. I think they probably started eating around about 8 o'clock last night. They've eaten quite a lot of it. And the lioness has now got her head deep within the cavity, and I think she's eating organs. In fact, you know what I think she's eating? I think she's just got at the heart, which is brilliant meat, and I think she's just kind of licking out the remains of that, which of course if you're a human being is, well, it's pretty disgusting. But if you're a lion, it's great food. Oh, and there's the stomach as well. You can't hear everyone, but just behind me, David's going, ugh, oh. It really is foul. Look at that. And they get so cross with each other. Despite the fact that they're so stuffed full of meat they can barely eat anymore, they still get very upset if they feel like their food is being pinched. Oh, there goes the bit more of the stomach. For some reason, I think because the wind is blowing the other way, we're being excused the stink. Which is a bit of a relief. Now, Tammy, when you see them huffing and puffing and holding on to one piece of the buffalo, no, they're not saving it for later. What they're doing is they don't want it to be pinched by the other cubs or other lions that are feeding at the same time. And so when you see them, I know exactly what you mean. They take hold of their jaws, and then they just kind of clamp the jaws over it, and they go... It's just part of this kind of almost competitive reflex that they have. They're not very hungry anymore, but as soon as anything comes anywhere near what they're trying to eat, then they get cross. And there was quite a nice shot there of the trachea, and what the interesting thing about the trachea, which I don't think we can see anymore because she's moved round, is that that is the sort of crucial part. If you're trying to choke a buffalo, that's what you want to be going for. Other side. Now let's sit here for a little while. One of the cubs has had enough. We'll now go and lie down and snooze, probably for most of the rest of the day. Now the reason I say that the Pride has been eating since last night is that most of them, of course, are already in a state of deep slumber under the tree there. They're full, they're totally content, as they have been for months now. I'm just going to sneak forward, Dave. She's got hold of the liver there. The lung, sorry. There we go. There go the lungs. I'm sorry if this is a bit gory, everybody. It is a bit sickening, but it is interesting, I think, as well. That is the lungs, and that's the trachea attached to them, that bit of white at the other side of it. And that, of course, is the windpipe. The trachea is the windpipe. That's what would have been crushed when the kill took place. And apart from the fact that it doesn't look great, it is interesting because the lungs, of course, we often tend to think of as being like balloons, which they're not. They're like big sponges that take the air into them. You can see that very clearly. Now that the main cavity is open, well, we're looking at a lioness munching her way through the pulmonary system of that buffalo. And Brett, you're wondering if lions get fur balls. Certainly not from eating the lungs of the buffalo, but yes, they do get fur balls, and certainly leopards do. Probably from licking the hair off. In fact, that lioness is just starting to do it again now. There, she's doing it. They'll get it from the buffalo. They'll also get fur balls from licking themselves and the cubs. And I think leopards get them more because, you've seen leopards, of course, have got those very fluffy bellies. And I think those fluffy bellies definitely give off a lot of hair, especially at this time of the year when it warms up. And leopards, I think, get more fur balls than lions. But yeah, I think they both get fur balls to a certain extent. She is so full right now, she doesn't know what to do with herself. But just can't stop eating. Look at this, she's trying to get into... I don't know what she's doing now. Look at that. Oh, I like this question, and I mean, it's a common one. Junior, you say, since a lion's sense of smell is so great, does the smell of a carcass affect them? The thing is that, yes, of course they have great sense of smell, but what they perceive as pleasant and unpleasant is very clearly completely different from what we perceive as pleasant and unpleasant. And that's a function of the fact that what we smell as unpleasant is normally in some way harmful to us. It's a little cub made an attack towards the kill. Of all the lionesses to pick to tangle with now. Junior, so that's one aspect of it. Remember that a rotting carcass to a lion is not poisonous or not toxic. And so, although it smells very strongly, it doesn't smell bad to them. The other thing is that, I know that our taste and our smell are intricately interwoven. We can pick up a far greater number of different kinds of smells than most other animals, and most other, taste more than most other animals can. And what that means is that while these lions can smell something to eat from a very long way away... Oh, that's lovely, David. Look at her there. She's just weeing on her sister. That is astounding. Have you ever? They all seem to think that that's an entirely acceptable thing to do. I'm speechless. Listen to the little ones calling now. So, sorry, just back onto the smell thing. So, although they can smell something good to eat at, kilometers, probably up to 5 to 8 kilometers, I think what you'll find is that they probably don't smell the same range of smells that we do, for example. And because rotting meat to them smells a little bit like beef stroganoff to us, you'll find that they're not put off by it. They have the stomachs to digest it, and to us it's very unpleasant. We wouldn't try and eat rotting meat simply because we know that it would make us sick. This is a very tender little moment, this, isn't it? Well, it's actually a tender moment born of the desire of the cubs to have a bit of milk to drink. And can very easily escalate into violence with the cubs. Look at them all. There are only 4 teats there, and there are at least 5 cubs. I wanted to just tell you, yesterday, while we look at these lions, that we saw, I don't know if you remember, our old friend Taylor Lautner, the buffalo. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, there's a buffalo that bears a startling resemblance to Taylor Lautner, and we thought he'd gone. Anyway, we found him again yesterday, and when I got here, I thought, oh no, because I saw the horns of this buffalo, and I thought they looked very close together, just like old Taylors do. But don't worry, everyone, Taylor is fine. Both Taylor on Cheetah Plains and Taylor the buffalo. We spell their names differently, of course. There we go, another lioness moving towards the kill. I think what we're going to do, everybody, I think things are going to calm down here now. Let's just see what this lioness does. And then we can head off towards that other carcass where I suspect if we approach very slowly, we'll probably be able to get a good view of them. Oh, look at those flies. We'll probably be able to get a good view of the buffalo, not the buffalo, perhaps the vultures feeding on the carcass of the buffalo. So we'll just sit here a little bit longer. I'm not sure how much more of this gore I can take. To quickly get onto the Game Drive radio. 2 stations here. Yeah, affirmative. Best approach, Quarry Pan Junction, Drakensberg. Just head down towards Central. Just helping someone get into the sighting. Now, who knows where they'll be later today? They might be here. They might have headed off somewhere else. They might be on another buffalo nearby. This Pride has been extremely unpredictable of late, simply because there's been so much for them to eat that they've done very un-lion-like things for this area. They've killed in the middle of the day, they've killed twice, sometimes at night, and they haven't finished their carcasses. I think it looks like it's probably going to be quite cloudy the whole day, so they might not move around. They might move around a little bit. But, Patricia, I love the way you've asked your question. You say, why do the cubs choose to nurse when there's beefy over here? Well, I think it's because the milk probably tastes nicer to them. It's certainly got more fat in it. It's much less effort to eat than trying to chew raw, hard buffalo, drought-riddled meat off the bone. And I think it's probably easier for them to digest as well, as little cubs. It's going to change. Remember, we've probably got 3 of them approaching 5.5 months now, so they're getting to the stage of weaning. But they're all still suckling. And the mothers will still be producing milk. It's an easier meal. But you can see they've kind of given up with their suckling. This lioness is now, just drinking the juices, really. Ugh. All right, Taylor's on Cheetah Plains still. We're going to move on from here, see if we can't find some some vultures at the other buffalo, and we'll catch up with you when we get there.
So we're in 3 in a row pan at the moment, and we've come across the carcass that we saw. We actually saw this buffalo alive almost a few weeks ago now. Now I can see lots of maggots. Can you see between its back legs? Look at all of them squirming around. Now this is quite gross, so I understand if you don't want to watch, or if you want to make a cup of tea very quickly, you're welcome to go and do so. Now it doesn't look like much has eaten it. I suppose the vultures have come through and picked the eyes out and fed around a little bit, but maybe a jackal, because we know there's a couple of jackal that like it here on Cheetah Plains, have munched away on this buffalo. But it seems as though the flies and the maggots have been doing the hard work at trying to decompose this buffalo as quick as it can. But you can see the maggots, some of them have finished feeding, And now they're all trying to move away. Can you see them all moving around on the ground, just all around the buffalo? So perhaps they're going to go and find a place to pupate where they will turn into flies. That is quite gross. Now this is where the starlings need to be, and of course the hornbills and things, because this is fantastic protein, and I'm actually quite surprised we haven't seen any of the smaller passerines around here feeding on this delicious feast. But I suppose as well the birds are quite spoilt at the moment with the amount of insects that have come about after the rains, so perhaps there's no need for them. Well, they do have the opportunity then to be a little bit on the picky side. Here we go, but eventually this buffalo will completely disappear and become one with the earth. There's some zebra up ahead. Let's go across and see if we can have a look at the zebra. I haven't seen any footprints at all, though, of any leopard, which is quite sad. I was hoping that we were going to see Quarantine's footprints coming across from Mala Mala, but I checked the southern boundary. The plains were like a desert. There wasn't even a bird out there, and quite cold and windy too. Well, I think we're going to slowly start making our way back towards Djuma, as it doesn't seem as though much is happening here. But before we do that, we've got a few zebra that we're going to take a look at. We'll just try and get a nice view. There's one actually just walking, about to pop out into the open now. Hello, Zebby. Oh, quickly use the luxury bathrooms. You saw it pop its head down and have a sniff. Maybe it's a communal toilet. And he looks like a stallion. He doesn't look particularly old. He still looks lovely and sort of clean with a boyish look to his face. Yeah, yesterday afternoon I went towards Inga's to go and have a swim, and that's where Jamie and Brent stay. And I saw the oldest stallion. His ears were all tattered. He had scars covered on him. And I reckon he was probably at the end of his lifespan. But these zebra look lovely, young and fit, and don't seem to be too affected at all by the harsh conditions that the drought has sort of left for all the other animals to experience. And they're tough. These zebras, very much like horses, of course, they're very resilient. They're good at coping with the extreme weather conditions, from the hot weather to the cold weather. Look at that stripe. How incredible is that? Look like the stripes stop matching, but let's see when it comes out behind the termite mound. I want to have another look at that. Now, we often see that when you have an unfortunate attack from a lion, but I don't think that that's the case there. I think that it's just got unusual markings. And you can see at some point there the stripes don't actually join together. There's a thick black stripe in between them. That's beautiful. That's an unusual marking for a zebra. Normally we see those solid stripes going across the back and the belly. And that's what makes these creatures so unique. But let's continue from the zebra. Let's see what else we can find along the way. And I hope you've been enjoying the Nkuhumas. I am jealous that I didn't get to see them, but I'm also happy to see that they found themselves a meal. Now that's good. It means that the cubs survive yet another day and go and get to have a nice afternoon sleep with a full belly. Oh, now that we're downwind, we can smell that buffalo carcass that we just saw. Oof, that's terrible though. Ooh, we need more flies to help decompose that carcass a little bit quicker. Oh, please, come on, leopard tracks. We need something to go on. I wonder when the spotted cats are going to decide to come back again. Hopefully we don't have a drought of leopards. That'll be very sad. Now, once upon a time you were saying that you enjoyed the cheetah that we saw the other day. I'm so glad that they're beautiful creatures. But you're also wondering, do the guides not track them? Oh, who have I got sitting with a bright red head? Who are you? Did you see that? You see that little shrub where all those birds were sitting, just down to the left? Okay, if you go down. Oh, there, they're woodpeckers. Oh, there's the others. I saw another one that looked like it had a very much bright red head, and I want to have a look at it because I don't know if that was a woodpecker. So if you go down, I'm going to draw away from here because there's something else flying. If you go all the way down, okay, never mind. All the way, no, there it goes. That's what I was looking at. There's another bird. It looked like it could be a red-headed weaver. We're just trying to find it. Oh, did you see it? It just flew at the top of the screen. There we go. Who have we got there? A red-headed weaver. How incredible is that? That's exactly what I saw. That's beautiful. That's the first one I've seen since I've been here at Wild Earth. And I thought that I saw something that had a brighter coloured head than those woodpeckers. As much as we love the woodpeckers, we see them on a regular basis, from the bearded to the cardinals. However, the weavers have been few and far between, and you can see it's just hopping around over there. I'm going to show everybody an awesome thing about these weavers if I can eventually get to them. No, taking me to the wrong place. And now, I don't know if you've ever seen a red-headed weaver's nest, but typically they make their nests on power lines, which is quite interesting, and they've got a long tunnel entrance compared to the other weavers, the southern masked weaver, but that was quite spectacular. Now, I want to try and show you a picture of the female just to show you how she looks in comparison. Oh, no, well, you can see why I can't have nice things, because I drop them all the time. Let's try that again. Thank goodness for the covers on your phone, but look at that female. So she's not as pretty as that male red-headed weaver. I'm going to swipe again just so we can have a look. Look how beautiful he is. Isn't that amazing? And hard at work in this photo building a nest. We don't see them very often. That was absolutely incredible. I'm so glad that that caught my attention and caught my eye. But I've still yet to see an active nest, and it's amazing. I've been doing this for so long, but something like that is a bird that we don't see all the time. Like I said, like to make their nests on the power lines for the most bizarre reasons, with a lovely long tunnel entrance. And that's what's so nice about these different weavers, is that even though they've got the same principle, the same idea of weaving a nest, some of them are tighter. We saw the southern masked weaver the other day that doesn't have a tunnel as an entrance. It's just got a little hole. Whereas I suppose you could describe the nest of a red-headed weaver to look like a hairdryer of some sort. But now, enough chit-chat about the weavers. We'll see what else we can find. Let's go back across to James and see what his plans are since he's left the lions.
We've got a couple of wildebeest over there, everybody. And I just wanted to show you those two specifically. You see their little sort of... I don't know, what would you call it, sort of reddish yellow crown that they have. They're a year old exactly. They've made it through to their first birthdays, plus minus, give or take a week or so. And the cows in this little herd, which is, as it disappears into the woodland there, are definitely pregnant. They've all got swollen udders, and they'll be giving birth at much the same time that the impala will. On my day for guessing when the impala were going to give birth has passed. It was on Monday, so I was wrong about that. When was yours, David?
The day after.
The 8th. Oh, bad luck. Right. Now, around this corner is where the buffalo was dragged. Well, around one or two more corners. And I'm going to approach very slowly in the hopes that we can get some vulture action, because watching vultures fighting with each other and squabbling over a kill is very amusing. Lion eyes, it's not much of a mystery. You say, how did the buffalo carcass get pulled out of the water? Lion eyes, it got pulled out of the water by a tractor. The Djuma staff didn't want to leave it in the water. I'm not entirely sure why, to be honest. I mean, yes, of course it would contaminate the water of human beings, but not for lions or hippo or anything like that. Just have a quick look at some water buck there, which, like most of the water buck at Djuma, are nowhere near the water. But then, back to the buffalo, it was pulled out by a tractor and a chain. There we go. This kind of sighting, everybody, is going to become more and more common. You see how it sort of disappears into the woodland there. That's what's going to happen as the bush starts to thicken as a result of the water that we've had. But I think you'll find, on the whole, there's probably a slight thinning of the bush after the drought because of the sort of selective gardening that the elephants have done. Some impala to the right. I'm just going to keep easing down the road here. Oh, Rena, no, you say, is there only one type of grass here? Rena, there are probably about, well, in South Africa, there are probably about 1,000 grass species, but in this area, I would say there are at least 50 or 60 grass species that I know of. So no, there are lots and lots of different grass species of various qualities. Some are good for grazing, some are not good for grazing. Some grow in certain areas, some don't grow in other areas. Some grow in the shade, some grow in the sun. Some grow on toxic soil, some only grow on well-drained sandy soils. So there are lots and lots of different kinds of grasses, which at this time of the year are very difficult to identify because they haven't put up their flowers, their inflorescences yet. And it's only when they put up their inflorescences that we are able to identify them. You can, if you're a grass expert, identify them just from the, the blade or a bit of the rootstock. But to become such an expert is to dedicate one's life to studying grasses under a microscope, and I don't know many people in the world who would find that entertaining or be particularly lucrative. Now I'm driving so very slowly because we know that the vultures here are quite skittish, and I don't want to frighten them off if we can get a view of them. And Wendy's brakes, and I don't believe that I'm going to do this, but I'm going to pay Wendy a compliment. Wendy's brakes don't squeak, which means that we might be able to get relatively close. Should be just around the next corner. I'm not sure what kind of a view we're going to have from here, though. May have been prudent to go from the other side. Let's see, it's literally around the next corner. Can't see anything. You can see the buffalo. Buffalo's just through there. I don't see one bird. Not one. How very disappointing. I thought we were going to be assailed by the sight of hundreds of vultures feeding here. No, not a sausage. Right, we're going to drive past here quite quickly. We've seen enough dead flesh buffalo today. This one is really very smelly indeed. So let's just ignore him. Bye. And we'll have a quick look into the dam. Oh, there's some zebra coming down to drink. Now, this is a lovely question that I don't. I think I've worked the answer out to. Safari Dean, while we sit here in the green cloud of the buffalo, looking at those zebra over there, you say, do any of the bugs that are in the horns of a dead buffalo start while the buffalo is still alive? And the answer is, I think yes, they do. And while we interpret a lot of the bushwhacking that a buffalo does when it's older, and rubbing of the head against trees and that sort of thing, as territorial is how we interpret it quite often, I wonder if it isn't because those moths lay their eggs already on the buffalo, and the eggs start to kind of irritate and itch, and I wonder if they don't rub them out, and that's why perhaps they rub their heads so much. I might be wrong, but I think yes, the keratophagous moths that leave those very obvious the pupa, very obvious pupa on the dead buffalo skulls. I think that probably one or two do manage to lay their eggs on living buffalo. I might be completely wrong though. Now, they've either just had a drink, but I suspect they're thinking about having a drink, and like all good African animals, they are very cautious of approaching the water. In this particular case, I suspect because the slope down to the water is so great. I hadn't noticed that before, but that's quite precarious, quite difficult to drink there, and that means that if you do go down that slope to try and drink, you're going to be inevitably more vulnerable than you would be otherwise. Because it does mean that to turn around and run away from something that might try and grab you could be a crocodile. It isn't going to be a crocodile this time, but it could be a lion. It's going to be very difficult to get away. And so I think all of these things, although probably not conscious considerations, all of these things are considered. Now, David, I think I've just spotted a nest. Off to the left-hand side, you will see an Egyptian goose sitting in the tree there, to the left, there we are. But that goose was lying down on the tree until 2 seconds ago. No, there's no nest there. It was just a lazy Egyptian goose. Yeah, the weather hasn't cleared at all today. So we're in for a nice cool morning. I think it might clear a bit later on. And apparently some rain for the rest of the week. All right, let's carry on. Oh, well, let's quickly look at the hippo for Justin once more. Justin, you say, how is the hippo able to float like that? Justin, it isn't. It's standing. It's actually lying down. There are probably only about 2.5 feet of water there to the muddy bottom. And so the hippo is not swimming or floating at all. It's lying down on the muddy bottom. And that's the big thing with the hippo is that it can't actually swim and it cannot float. So in the deep water of, say, the Okavango, they run along the bottom and then they jump up. They're quite buoyant, so they jump up, have a breath, and then they sink down to the bottom again. Alrighty, let's go along the Buffelshoek cutline, I think, which is our northern cutline. Just see, I know we haven't had much leopard luck of late on Djuma. Karula's been down to the south. I think she's had a kill there with the 2 cubs. Maybe we'll be lucky with a Shiluva or Mvula even from the north. Now, I'm fascinated by that sighting that you had of the 3, I nearly said the 3 amigos, I don't know why I said that, there's another waterbuck, of the 3 Korhaans that you had today, because I was hoping rather that there would be a report of the red crest actually being stuck out. But apparently it was 3 males having some kind of dispute with each other. He's looking very skinny indeed. There's his friend, who's looking less skinny. Rena, why are they called waterbuck? Well, in theory, Rena, because when they are attacked by lions, and the lions, maybe big hyena clan, are the only ones big enough to take them down, they run into water. Yes, I've seen it happen, but I've seen Nyala do it much more often. I've seen Impala do it much more often than I've seen waterbuck do it. I mean, they were probably named waterbuck because of an incident or two where they ran into the water. And we think that there is, I have read that males have territories around water, but waterbuck here we don't see around the water very often. We see them in what we call the ecotone areas, which is the areas between 2 vegetation types, where that's the kind of grass that they like to eat. That's a gorgeous harem of zebra. Now look how they go into their order. The oldest female goes into the front as they move off, the big stallion staying behind to watch what threat we are. That's him there. So the oldest female in front, her offspring behind her, then the second wife, and her offspring, and so on until the stallion brings up the rear. Wonderful. So, Rena, yeah, waterbuck here often not around the water at all. Ah, Taylor has got a very rare tick-eating bird to show you.
We're having so much luck with the birds today. Look what Brian spotted. A yellow-billed oxpecker. We've been chatting about them for quite some time now. And finally, my first one since I've been here. Now you can clearly see that it's got a lot more yellow on its beak than a red-billed oxpecker does. And there's a red bill on the left-hand side, so we can now do a comparison. So firstly, you can see it also lacks the yellow orbital ring around its eye. Well, when they decide to show themselves again. Where did you go? I'm just trying to see. I think it flew off. Just trying to work out. Okay, no, that's the red bill. So the yellow bill is still hanging on the face of this buffalo. We'll wait for it to come around again. There's a wattled starling too. There we go. Where's the oxpecker? It must be around the ear. Oh, no, there it is again. And then I don't know if you very quickly saw the size difference between the two as well. How the yellow-billed is much larger in size compared to the red-billed. And this is wonderful. There's just the one here this morning. And even though they feed on the same things, they feed on ticks. The yellow-billed will go for the bigger ticks, the more prominent-looking ones, so it'll actually directly pick the big ticks off of the rump or in between the ears, or inside the ears, whereas the red-billed goes for, of course, those finer ticks like the pepper ticks that you see moving around through the hair of the buffalo and the various animals. And, of course, the wattled starlings, not wasting any time and trying to pick up any little insects that they can that are being disturbed by those buffalo. Lovely female, and there was a male as well that had some beautiful wattles on him, which they clearly get their name from. Let's see, is that one? There he is, running at the base of the feet. And I always think that they're such incredibly interesting looking birds. Oh, we're having a wonderful birding morning today. That's okay, I suppose. Then the leopards can evade us and spend some time with the smaller things. Now, I saw an interesting bird, I must tell you now. It's one of the cuckoos, and I don't know if it was what I saw. And it flew across the road very quickly, about 8 minutes ago or so, the last time I was with you, just after that. And we tried to look for it again, but I couldn't find it. And it was brown in colour. Now, there's a cuckoo called a long barred-tailed cuckoo, which is exceptionally rare. And I see that it's only been sighted down here a couple of times. So, I don't know, but it's the only cuckoo that I know that is that colour. It was incredible. So I shall have to show you. I'll try and dig up a photo. On my app there weren't any real photos, though that's how rare these birds are. But I wonder if it could have possibly been that bird. There's a herd of buffaloes just moving through, searching for an area where there's grass. And they seem to find a couple of little spots where the grass is coming through. There's also lots of weeds coming out of this ground, though. Now, Judge, you're wondering if the oxpeckers will eat fleas as well, and I most certainly think that they would. They'll feed on anything that eats blood. So that's what they're actually going after. That's why they peck open the wounds, and they'll feed directly straight on the blood. So a flea, I think definitely any of those ectoparasites they will munch on. Hello, starlings. You see they're very excited. You would be very excited if you saw that buffalo carcass we were just at. You would be having an absolute field day. Oh, a little bit of an argument that happened over there between them. Kirsty in Final Control says that the male wattled starlings remind her of the water polo players with their hats. That's a good way to describe it, I suppose, with those little protection over their ears. That's quite funny that we see on the boys when they're playing water polo, or the girls. Let's see if we can try and look at another male and then see if we see what Kirsty sees. No boys here. Oh, there's one. Not very prominent, though. Where's all those big, beautiful boys displaying their lovely wattles? And I love how they sort of feed in a straight line as well. You see that behavior there? Very good for flushing out insects. It's almost like they're doing an army patrol. Walking in a straight line, covering as much ground as they can. That was amazing. I can't get over all the birds we've seen today. It's been really, really wonderful. And it's nice to see the wattled starlings too. And it's so different coming from guiding down in the south of the Sabi Sand to coming up to the north. Because even though it's not very far away from each other, the bird species are so different. For instance, the wattled starlings, I think I only saw a handful of times, whereas here we see them on regular occasions in the summer months. It's really beautiful. The same thing with the red-crested. I can't remember ever seeing a red-crested down in the south. We just used to see the black-bellied bustards. But up here, the red-crested are definitely more prominent. And I don't blame the buffalo for not wanting to look at us today. Heads down, trying to munch and eat as much as they can. But there's not really that much grass coming through. It seems to be lots of other little shrubs and little weeds and things popping through the ground. Like I said, if only they knew about quarantine and the beautiful grass that is now coming through on that open area. There's the male. Now we go. Now you can have a look at the water polo player that Kirsty was describing for you. What do you think? Do you think it looks like a water polo player? I actually think so. It's quite funny. That's a very good way to describe this bird. Now, can we pan back left? There's a flower that I want to show you that was, I can't see it from here. It was really tiny. But if we zoom in, I'm going to see if I can find it again. If you can go up, it was sort of in line as to where the starling was walking. I think if you do that and we go to the left, and if you go up a little bit, yeah, left. It was a tiny little purple flower. It looked like a bush violet. We'll see if we can find it again. It was so small though. I just saw it out of the corner of my eye. No, nothing there. And I can't unfortunately see it with my naked eye. Okay. It seems as though it's been lost now in the brown and the green in the background. It happened so quickly I didn't get a moment to ask you to pause. But it was a tiny little purple flower and it looked like something called a bush violet. But we should start to see lots of them popping up. So we'll eventually get all the flowers. And hopefully when they come around, there'll be so many of them, we'll just be able to do a flower drive. But you can see very slow movements, buffalo not racing off anywhere. Oh, there's a little one. That looks like one of the... See, it looks very much right now as we're looking at like a morning glory, but it isn't because of that coloration. It's too pink. It could be one of the hibiscus, maybe a dwarf-eyed hibiscus. But I can't see just yet, and I can't go and have a closer inspection, as you can see, because, well, there's lots and lots of buffalo around, and I don't think that they would be too happy if I jumped out to go and have a look at that flower. But typically with the hibiscuses, though, is that if you have a decent look at them and they have opened up completely, you can see that they have a dark eye. But that morning glory that couldn't have been a morning glory. It looked a little bit too pink, and typically we see the purple ones around here. No, just carrying on with that. I suppose we'll carry on then. Let's go back towards quarantine though. I'd like to go and have a look at how green the grass is. And hopefully we'll see lots of different animals, seeing as though everybody's moving onto those plains. But bye-bye, buffalo. Thank you very much. I hope you find an area that's got an abundance of grass. But let's go back across to James before these nasty gremlins jump onto the vehicle.
Now, I'm going to stop under the shade here, everyone. I committed an act of, shall we say, well, it was a bit of a hit and run. I was driving along the road and into the front of the vehicle flew this beetle. And he is, of course, a dung beetle. And he couldn't fold his wings for a little while, and I think he was a bit stunned and concussed. But he seems to be getting a little bit better. he burrowed into my sleeve for a while and lived there. So I'm just going to try and sort of bring him back to full health, hopefully by the time we get home, and put him in some fresh dung, just to kind of say sorry for running him down. To be fair, I'm not sure I could have stopped without flinging David clean off the front of the car. Anyway, sacrifices must be made. Isn't he cool? He's still a little confused. I think he's digging in between my fingers. And this is the plum dung beetle. Remember, there are over 900 species of dung beetle. And you can see his head perfectly designed for digging in dung. And the same kind of combs that he's got in the front of his head you can see on the front of his front legs. That's so cool. That is fantastic. Gee whiz. Let's move a little bit forward. You can see his back end too. Now that hardened kind of line down his back, those are modified front wings. And they've sort of become hard over the years, over evolutionary time, and they've modified to form what we call the elytra, which is sort of a little bit like a tortoise shell on the back of a beetle. Now in some beetles that's fused and they can't fly then, but underneath the elytra of a dung beetle we have the wings, the hind wings, and they fold up in the most astonishingly neat fashion because they're actually about twice the length of the dung beetle's body. So the wings underneath there, twice the length of the body, and they fold up 3 or 4 times into that neat little package underneath the elytra there. It's really quite astonishing to watch when it happens slowly. And it happened slowly today because this beetle, of course, was a bit stunned. I think he still is. I've never had a dung beetle sit this quietly before. Hunter, I think only a season is the answer to your question. How long can a dung beetle live? I think that you'll find that once this thing has done its business this year, I think that once the summer, or the last rains of the summer fall and the days start to get a little bit shorter, I think you'll find that the dung beetles probably will die off. But by then they would have laid their eggs underground and they would be eating the dung. Now, Robin, you want me to know if I can show you the eyes? I don't even know if a dung beetle has eyes. I don't think it does, you know. I mean, there must be, there are the eyes. Whether it can see out of them or not, I don't know. It's now starting to get a little bit active, which is almost impossible for Dave to film. I'll hold it still. There we are. Now look, look. Did you see how it opened the elytra? There, the eyes you can see. I don't know that it uses them at all. Let me just turn it round. I'm hoping it'll fly off. There, the elytra. Let's see if it'll just open them. No, it won't open them. We're going to give it some time. It navigates, Robin, of course, though, with mites. So where the mite, the sarcoptic mite, is the enemy of the lion and various other animals here, there are mites that live on the that is amazing, mites that live on the dung beetle that help it to navigate and find dung. There you can see its eyes quite clearly now. Hey, those black things on either side. Yeah, so Steph is watching, everybody, and he says the majority of the eye is underneath that very hard plate. You can see, in fact, look how worn away the front of the plate is. Can you see that? This means this dung beetle's been digging. This is the best dung beetle sighting I've ever had. It's a pity about the condition of my nails. No, I'll just do that, then you don't have to look at them. That is so cool. Look at the hairs on the legs. Hello, Jessica. Interestingly, you're wondering which kind of dung this fellow would eat. Jessica, I think probably any kind of dung. I'm not sure if it would eat carnivore dung. Many dung beetles do. I'm not if the species would eat carnivore dung, though. You normally find these fellows on buffalo or on elephant dung. But you do sometimes. I remember once I caught a dung beetle. I think it was a bit bigger than this. It was a big black one. It landed on my bed at night, and I picked it up and tossed it out the window. And then I smelt my hand, and my hand smelt a little bit like that buffalo that we found this morning. And that was on account of the fact that some of them eat carrion as well. I don't think these ones do. I think these ones are almost purely dung-eating dung beetles. Look at it turning around. It's now thinking about digging into my hand. Judge, as you asked that question, I was going to say no. You say, do they bite? Yes. They do bite. Not very sore, but they certainly... it's certainly testing what the skin is like. Let's see if it'll do it for you in front. I think it's not going to try and bite me there. I think the skin's a little bit hard. What a wonderful dung beetle sighting this has been. It's very tickly to have it on your skin, I must say. There's a bit of softish flesh there. Let's see if it bites that. Obviously I don't smell like dung. That's a relief. Dark tranquility, this is a mystery as great as the origin of your name. You say, how do the mites help the dung beetle to navigate? I don't know. I'm not sure that anyone knows. But there's some form of communication that takes place, and no one, I don't think, truly understands it. Steph is in the final control, so if he has an answer, I'll feed it through to you, but I really don't know how they manage to do that. So cool. He's worn out his plate. So he's not a youngster, this fellow. Apparently Steph is thinking, everybody. Well, while Steph thinks, let's carry on going. We need to find a decent pile of dung for this fellow to live in. He now doesn't want to let go. That's all right. I'll drive with one hand. Steph will discuss it with us at camp, apparently. Wow, what a brilliant dung beetle sighting. Should stun them more often. I think he was probably stunned, and I also think that he, the temperature probably rendered him slightly, well, not senseless, but just made him probably a little bit less active than he might be. But he seems to be recovering. I say he, it could be a she. It's difficult to tell with a dung beetle. Hunter, this dung beetle is about at maximum size, so what is it, it's about an inch across, I guess. But the biggest dung beetle we get is something, I think it's called a giant black dung beetle, actually, interestingly, and they get about twice the size of that. So that's about that big. That's a pretty big dung beetle. Yeah, I think that would be about the biggest. Marvellous. Marvellous, marvellous. We're going to turn down, we've got a few minutes left, we're going to turn down towards the Gallagher shortcut and see if we don't come up with something there, maybe some sign of leopard. But I don't think so at this stage. I don't think so at this stage, I said. Anyway, it's been a marvellous morning. Paid off in the end after my completely embarrassing performance in finding those lions. Can't win them all, I suppose. No, not much going on here. And I think there's been less rain in this area than we've had on different parts of Djuma down further to the south. We're right in the northern boundary. There's just less grass around here. And there's been much in the way of grading of the road, which is quite nice. Alright, let's head back south into Djuma. We're just looking, searching, hoping for a fresh piece of dung. Well, X-Ranger, you know, who can tell really? You say, do I think the dung beetle is stunned or starstruck by seeing me? Were the dung beetle to have some form of internet connection in its pile of dung, and were it to be a Safari Live watcher, then I've no doubt it would be purely starstruckness that had rendered it senseless. Now quickly, I found a pile of dung and some friends for this fellow, so we're going to put him out, just to the left-hand side here. Oh, there's an elephant over there, David. There we go. Good luck, dung beetle. He doesn't want to let go. There we go. I'm just going to cover him up. There we are. Elephant didn't see me either. None the wiser. Right, there we go. Dennis the dung beetle is now safe in his pile of dung. Alright, thanks everybody for coming on Drive with us this morning. We'll see you later this afternoon at 4 o'clock till 7 o'clock. The recently engaged lovebirds will be taking the drive this afternoon. Taylor and I will not. See you later, and thank you very much. Bye-bye.
And look at this, we've come across a tunnel here that the elephants have created us. Perhaps a little love tunnel, I don't know. James just said something about that, and I presume that he's talking about Jamie and Brent, and I'm sure you're most excited to see them. We're going to try and go. Let's do an obstacle course quickly, Brian, just while we've got the end here. We're going underneath this big mess that the elephants have created for us. Under we go. Watch your head, Brian, you're quite tall. Now, that wasn't that wonderful. There we go. So we'll have to come and drag those trees off of the road, of course. I don't think I would have been quite strong enough to move them off. I'll need to eat some more oats or something along those lines. But it's been an interesting morning filled with a variety of different birds, and I hope you've enjoyed that, and I hope that either that yellow-billed oxpecker or the red-headed weaver was perhaps a new bird for your list. But I can see a warthog up ahead. Just coming in to say hello. Oh, there's two warthogs. There's one very nicely. Oh, that one's hiding away. Let me see if I can roll back. There's another one standing out in the open. There it is. Hello, little warthog. I'll say they seem quite content, and they'll be quite happy as well. They don't mind the fact that there's short grass around. They're able to dig those roots out with their very strong snouts. Now, I hope that you again have enjoyed the morning. It's been fantastic as always with you. Cheetah Plains was a little bit quiet. There's a haze coming over. Let's hope for some rain. And like I said, Jamie and Brent are going to be back and driving this afternoon. And I'm sure you'll enjoy seeing them again and hearing about their stories. But from myself and Brian and the Thumb, we'll catch you probably tomorrow morning. Have a good day.